Hello, this is Patrick Barnard with the 16th International Press Review. It is Friday, May 16, 2025. We're going to concentrate on a Human Rights Watch report, Extermination in Gaza. There you see on the screen the Human Rights Watch report, which was written in Beirut, dated May 15th, yesterday, Thursday, 2025. And the title of it, of course, you can see, Gaza, latest Israeli plan inches closer to extermination. The Human Rights Watch report is very thorough, and it's worth looking at a number of its details. The opening paragraph reads as follows, quote, "The Israeli government's plan to demolish what remains of Gaza's civilian infrastructure and concentrate the Palestinian population into a tiny area would amount to an abhorrent escalation of its ongoing crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, and acts of genocide," Human Rights Watch said today. That report was from yesterday, Thursday, May 15th. Today, Friday, I was watching television, and I'm going to use two visual reports to establish the framework for what Human Rights Watch is saying. The first was a report by the very good BBC reporter Lucy Williamson.
Israel says its target is terrorist infrastructure. This is Bet Lahia, after 19 months of war. Hard to find the scars of this morning's assault on a town already in ruins. Residents know where to look for survivors, just not for answers. The heavy assault involved tanks, they say, and armored vehicles around a shelter for displaced people. "We went to the south, we were targeted in the south," Abu Omar said. "We came to Gaza City, we were targeted there. Where should we go? For God's sake, have mercy on us." The floor of the nearby Indonesian hospital, a makeshift treatment room, a makeshift morgue. These children now facing life without their mother. "Where are the Hamas negotiators while this happens to my mum?" he cries. After many months of war, doctors say this morning's assault felt different. Israel is calling up forces for a major new assault on Gaza, saying this time the army will hold the territory it takes.
The second important report from Gaza that was on television today came from a woman called Rosalia Bolin. She is a worker at UNICEF with a tremendous amount of experience, and she has been in Gaza for the last 6 months and gives us her testimony of what is happening right now.
Treatment points and what they've come across, the things they bear witness to are unimaginable. Children who are very severely injured with burns all over their body. Over the past couple of days, at least 50 children have been killed in very ferocious airstrikes throughout Gaza. They've come across lots of children who've been or who are acutely malnourished. Probably your viewers have seen images lately of acutely malnourished children. These children that we come across, the reality is that they're not unique cases. At present, we estimate that at least 71,000 children in Gaza will require urgent treatment for acute malnutrition this year. At the beginning of the year, that estimate still stood at 60,000 children, but because of the continued blockade of aid supplies and food and other goods into Gaza, and because of these relentless airstrikes and continued displacement of families in Gaza, the situation keeps deteriorating. I find it really hard to listen to their testimonies because having been in Gaza for 6 months, you already have the feeling that things can't possibly get worse, and then they actually do. I think what we're seeing today in Gaza really is a new low. It's absolutely catastrophic. Over the past 19 months, we have been warning that things were getting really bad and that people are dying not just of the bombs, but also because of preventable causes, really.
It is now Saturday, May 17, 2025. The situation in Gaza remains truly terrible. and now there's an Israeli military operation in the north called, of all things, Gideon's Chariots. The Human Rights Watch report is divided into two parts for me. One is a factual part, and the other consists of the statements of the interim director of the organization. So here's some of the facts in the report. The Israeli government, for the last 75 days, has imposed a blockade on Gaza. The Israeli authorities have blocked food, aid, fuel, food, medical supplies into Gaza for this entire period. Just outside of Gaza, there's 171,000 metric tons of pre-positioned food that could feed the people of Gaza, but the Israelis will not allow that food in. Already there are reports of 57 children having died of malnutrition. The suspicion is that there's many higher numbers of kids suffering from that. There are, according to Human Rights Watch, 58 hostages still held by Hamas. 23 are believed to be alive. Now, this involves, all of this, the destruction of buildings, orchards, fields, schools, hospitals, and in the words of Human Rights Watch, quote, acts that amount to war crimes, crimes against humanity, including extermination, and acts of genocide, unquote. These actions, says Human Rights Watch, under the 1948 Geneva Convention Against Genocide, trigger the duty to prevent genocide on the part of signatory parties. And according to Human Rights Watch, this provision applies particularly to the United States, to France, to Germany, to the EU, to the UK. The law, international law, requires that these governments stop Israel from doing what it is doing, according to Human Rights Watch. Regarding this duty to prevent under the Genocide Convention, the interim executive director of Human Rights Watch, an Italian international lawyer called Federico Borrello, has said in this report, quote, failing to stop the Israeli authorities from starving civilians in Gaza and further rendering it unlivable flies in the face of the very purpose of the Geneva Convention, close quote. Now, Borrello, in this report, he's a man who doesn't use excessive language, comments the following, quote, Israel's blockade has transcended military tactics to become a tool of extermination, close quote. And that remark has been spread across the international press this past week. We are now at Sunday, May 18th, 2025. Israel's military operation in the north of Gaza continues. There are reports this morning that hospital operations are completely null and void there in the north. People are starving, the kids are dying. It's an awful situation. Just 4 days ago, a very courageous, prophetic Israeli journalist, Gideon Levy, wrote a column in Haaretz with the headline, Israel's new military operation should be called Chariots of Genocide. In that column, Gideon Levy spoke about the silence of his fellow citizens about what is going on in Gaza. The Operation Gideon's Chariots is seen differently by different people in the world. Here's a very short, somewhat sensationalistic clip from the Hindustan Times in India, indicating that that paper thinks that the operation reveals the fact that Hamas has not been defeated by the Israeli Defense Forces. Nowhere is safe in Gaza now, but the focus of the terrible violence is now in northern Gaza, and this international press report will end by looking at a figure from the north of Gaza, a wonderful person called Fatma Hosanna. She is now dead. She learned just recently that she was going to be featured in Cannes in the film festival because she's the centerpiece of a documentary that was presented there. And at the very moment that she learned this, she was killed by an airstrike along with a number of people in her family. We're going to listen to a short tribute to her from Juliette Binoche at Cannes in French. And Juliette quotes a poem of hers in which she says she had become an angel. And then we're going to hear from a piece in Middle Eastern Eye, a piece which has the words of Fatma Husana herself.
Le 16 avril dernier, à l'aube, à Gaza, âgée de 25 ans, la photojournaliste Fatma Husana et 10 de ses proches ont été tués par un missile frappé leur maison. Elle avait écrit « Ma mort m'a traversée, la balle du tireur m'a traversée et je suis devenue un ange. »
فاطمة رائد حسونة، عمري 24 سنة، كاتبة ومصورة. أهلي استشهدوا في 13/1/2024. كانوا في بيت ناس مدنيين تماماً. انقصفوا الساعة 12. استشهد 11 فرد من عائلتي. ولا مرة كنت بتخيل إنه عائلة كاملة تروح من عائلتي، يعني جزء كبير هالقد من عائلتي يروح. كنت بتخيل إنه يعني أفقد فرد واحد أو شخصين بالكتير، ولكن 11 نفر مرة واحدة كان إشي كتير صعب. يعني حتى الآن أنا مش قادرة أستوعب إن هم أصلاً راحوا لأنه ما ودعناهم. يعني أنا كفاطمة مؤمنة إنه الصورة والكاميرا سلاح، بعتبر كاميرتي هي البندقية. يعني أنا كتير في كتير مواقف، في كتير أحيان بحكي لصحباتي إنه تعالي شوفي، مش البندقية إحنا بنحط لها الرصاص، أوكي أنا هحط الميموري في الكاميرا، فهاي رصاصة الكاميرا، هاي الميموري، تمام. بغير العالم، بدافع عن حالي، بفرج العالم أنا إيش بصير معي وإيش بصير مع غيري. فهذا الإشي يعني كنت بعتبره إنه هاد سلاحي، إني أنا أدافع عن حالي، وإنه أهلي ما ينتسوا، وإنه أوثق قصص الناس عشان قصص أهلي كمان ما تكون في مهب الريح. أنا كتير بحس حالي في قمة سعادتي وأنا بصور، مهما كانت اللحظة بحس إني أنا قاعدة بعمل إشي، قاعدة بحقق إنجاز، قاعدة بساعد نفسي وأنا بصور وأنا بوثق وأنا بنشر للناس، بفرج العالم شو يلي بصير. مش مهم كتير العالم بالنسبة لي إنه يشوف، قد ما هو مهم إني أنا شو بعمل، إنه قديش حيضل أثر الإشي اللي أنا بعمله، هل رح يضل خالد هذا الإشي. يعني أنا بسعى إنه صوري تضل خالدة، ورسالتي إنه للعالم إذا هم سايبيننا فإحنا قادرين نوقف على رجلينا حتى من دونهم، مش محتاجين حدا يجي ويحط كتف عشان نحط إيدنا عليه.